All right, I think we can go ahead and get started. Should I wait a little or should I go ahead and jump right in? We can get started. All right, perfect. So, welcome everyone to February and welcome to our cooking demonstration where we're highlighting this global celebration of food. February is Black History Month and it's also Heart Health Month. So, I welcome you on behalf of Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare and also Tufts Health Plan. And as I mentioned, we are highlighting global celebration of different food items across the world. My name is Christine, and I am a registered dietitian who loves cooking and also providing nutrition information and education to our community. And so I'm so grateful to be providing our cooking demonstration today. So we are going to highlight a variety of foods that are enjoyed across cultures from around the world. And so when I think of food from around the world and I think about my family, many of the things that I think about is some of the staple foods that I grew up having. So my family is from the Caribbean. We're from Jamaica, and many of the things that we're going to highlight today actually are some of the things that we typically have on our dinner tables and on our breakfast tables. The foods that we're highlighting will also talk a bit about the health benefits of those. February is Black History Month, and February is also Heart Health Month. And so we want to make sure that you have some information about how best to care for yourself while also including this diverse items for your dinner plates and for your breakfast plates. We'll then talk about some of the ingredients, and then we'll jump right into a demo highlighting one of my favorite dishes that we have in Jamaica. So first, I'm going to get started in talking about some of the ingredients that you may or may not have seen before. There were so many to choose from, and so because our demo is a short one, where I'm not able to highlight every single thing, but I hope that I'll be able to kind of mention a few of those things along the way, even if I don't have them here right in front of me. So the first item that I'm going to highlight today for you, you can see on my table here that I have a nice big basket full of fresh produce. Wonderful for us to have. And I'll just make a quick note actually in the beginning. As I walk through some of these items, I'll point out, some of the vitamins and the minerals and that are important, and some of the nutrients that are important in these staple crops. But really, when I think about, in my approach, when I think about healthy eating, I think about healthy eating for longevity. So it's not really just this one meal that I'm having to provide benefit, right, for the rest of my life, but it's multiple meals that I'm having over the course of my lifetime to provide the most benefit. So thinking about how I can balance my meals on a regular basis is going to be key when it comes to taking care of our health, particularly our heart health month. If we're wanting to prevent or manage diabetes, one of those other health conditions that we know here in the United States is a really big one that people are either struggling with and or want more information on how to best manage or even reduce medications and other things like that. So all of the food that we're going to highlight today, I think about filling my plate with these kinds of items for the course of my life as much as possible so that I can eat for longevity. So some of the items that I have today are here. So I'll first talk a little bit about green bananas. So green bananas are similar to what you would see your yellow bananas, but they're just in their unripe form. This is actually going to be one of the ingredients we use for our dish today. We're making a dish called ackee and saltfish, which is a traditional Jamaican dish. Ackee is the national fruit of Jamaica. And then we'll also add some other staple crops on the plate, including our green bananas for that meal. So when it comes to our green bananas, As I mentioned, it's our unripe form of what we would see in the grocery stores, the yellow ones. And you may have seen these before, but just didn't quite know exactly what to do with them. They are edible. They are edible, and eaten in a variety of different ways. So the green, when they're green like this, they have more starches. As they begin to ripen, the starches break down and into sugars, and so that's where you get more of that sweet taste from the banana. But these green bananas actually are more kind of like a potato. So we use these. We would typically boil them, and then once they're boiled and tender, we would take them out and set them on the plate as sort of like a side dish. There are a variety of other ways that you can use them. You can put them in a soup or a stew, which we do as well. So many different ways to utilize our green bananas. When it comes to our fruits and vegetables overall, including our green bananas, thinking about eating a variety of fruits and vegetables. And when I say variety, I mean think about the different colors or the colors of the rainbow. When we walk into the produce section of a grocery store, we see reds and purples and orange and green. So we want to make sure that our plate is a representative of that rainbow. And that means that you're going to be getting lots of vitamins and minerals that actually provide the most benefit to our health, to our heart health, to our brain health, to our eyes, to our skin. And again, that's that eating for that longevity. So green bananas, high in fiber. They are very filling. And so as a staple crop eaten around the world, this might be something that is eaten on a regular basis because it's pretty filling. It's also reasonably priced, if you will, and so a great option to pick up. It also contains some potassium and then some other vitamins and minerals as well. So I'll set our bananas aside and I'll show you actually how we're going to cook these in a moment. All right, and then our next item that we're going to highlight is our plantain. So the plantains, similar to our bananas, our green bananas, these actually come, you can see them in the grocery store, either green or yellow. And so there are, the green version is basically the unripe version, but it's still edible. We just eat it in a different way. And so this actually was green, but I had quite a few of them. And so I said, I don't want to cook so many, make a dish with the green ones. And so I decided I would put this in a brown paper bag and let it ripen up a little bit more. And so the longer you let this plantain ripen, it actually, again, will become a bit sweeter. And then there's different uses for it depending on the stage of ripeness. So this, I would actually let this go a little bit longer. Sometimes you'll see a plantain and it looks very bruised up and very black. You can see that there's a lot of bruises on it, but this is actually a great thing, particularly when it comes to some of our other recipes that we want it to be a little bit sweeter. So I like the skin to actually be pretty dark, black, if you will. But once you open it up, inside, it's still good, and you can use it to, you can fry, you can bake it as well. If it's a little bit more firm like this one, this is great for fried sweet plantains. You could even boil it and have it on a side as a side dish, so you'll get a bit of that sweetness. When it's in that green form, it actually is a little bit more, it's starchier, and again, kind of more like a potato, and the taste is more like a potato as well. So it's not very sweet at all. So when it comes to our plantain, originally, in my research says that it originated more in Southeast Asia, and it made its way across the world through colonization and through the transatlantic slave trade. And so its global presence, you can find this in Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Jamaica, Haiti, in Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic, and even Colombia. They have a similar dish where they take the green version, they smash it, and they may lightly fry it, either called tostones or patacones. And then in Haiti, they call it bananpes. So there's different versions of that. And in terms of and you can use the green one as well to make something like a mofongo or a mangu. So these are, I'm just throwing out some ideas for you. So jot those down and look those recipes up a little bit later. And then for the for the yellow version, I would take this and boil it and make a side dish, or I might let it ripen a little bit more. And again, make a fried sweet plantain, which is one of my favorites. I used to ask my grandmother to buy me a plantain every time we went to the grocery store. All right, very filling, and then also reasonably inexpensive. And so you can feed quite a few people with our plantains, and it helps us to sustain that energy as well. Contains great potassium, just like our bananas. And when it comes to heart health, when we talk about potassium, there's some really rock star nutrients that I like to always talk about. Generally speaking, just for a general healthy eating habit. But then also when we're talking about taking care of our heart health, reducing saturated fat content, and then also, so those nutrients are fiber is one of them, and then also something called potassium, as I mentioned before. So potassium actually helps our body to remove some of that sodium, and then the fiber is helpful, and I'll talk a little bit about this later, can actually help with removing cholesterol, help competing with that cholesterol in our body. So we want to make sure that we're including lots of high fiber fruits and vegetables and our whole grains, which I'll mention, and then also that variety of fruits and vegetables that contain the vitamins and minerals that we need. All right, our next ingredient that I'm going to highlight for us all is our cabbage. So cabbage, you can see this in many dishes across the globe. Cabbage is pretty cool in that it's a really quick and easy vegetable to cook down. Some of the ways that we I've made this before is like a side dish. So we'll take the cabbage and chop it up, and then we'll add some tomatoes and onions. Sometimes we'll add a bit of carrots, and we'll just let it stew down. And then once it stews, we set it on as a side dish. And then we'll add some other accompaniments to it. And so cabbage is also pretty cool in that it contains something called phytosterol. So when I was talking about that competing for cholesterol absorption, cabbages has some fiber. And then it also has these things called phytosterols, which actually compete with cholesterol in the body. And so we want to include the vegetables that contain these great ingredients or nutrients, because again, they're going to help us reduce that cholesterol, and then also providing us some other health benefits through the vitamins and minerals as well. So I'll set my cabbage aside for a moment, and then we're going to talk a little bit about our avocado. So many of us have already seen the avocado. We know what it is, a fruit. It has some really great heart health benefits, and we find this around the globe, eaten around the globe. It has some heart healthy fats in them. And so when we talk about a balanced meal, thinking about how we can incorporate some of our fruits and vegetables, this would be one of them. On our plate, we would want some whole grains, and then also on the plate, we would want to have either some lean proteins, or it could be some healthy fats as well. So the avocado would definitely take care of that healthy fat. So wonderful to have. And I'm going to set that one aside, and then let us talk a little bit about papaya. So I don't know if you've ever tried papaya before. I never have been a fan of the taste of papaya, or the look of it when you slice it open is kind of an interesting look. The seeds are little tiny black seeds, but it's actually pretty beautiful in color. But I have started incorporating this into my diet just because I don't want to limit myself. And so there's some ways that you can enjoy this a little bit more. I have, and maybe the taste is not an issue for you. I have friends that have taken lime and they've squeezed a little lime over it, and they've enjoyed it that way. For me, I actually paired this with some raspberries the other day. and even some pineapple. And it was delicious. And so maybe the pairing was helpful and allowed me to actually enjoy it. So papaya is great. Originated in Central America and South Mexico. It's a good source of fiber and folate. And so folate is one of those B vitamins that's often recommended for those who are pregnant or preparing for pregnancy. And so that this has some folate in it. And then it's also an excellent source of vitamin A and vitamin C. And vitamin C is, as we know, is great for immune support. So definitely having trying some papaya might be an option. You can put this in a smoothie. You can make a fruit bowl. You can add it to a salad. Actually, papaya has a natural component of it that is a natural meat tenderizer. And so you can use the papaya and maybe blend it up and add it into meat or some kind of protein and help to tenderize that protein. So there's papaya. If you haven't tried it, give it a try. And I always say that you can look up recipes. If you've never tried some of these ingredients before, don't fret. There's plenty of places that you can look to find ways that you can enjoy it. So searching online, we have lots of options there. Your local library, if you like to go to the library, is another place that you can find recipes as well. All right, so why don't we go ahead and talk about our mango. Where's my mango? Here we are. So we have some mango, another one of those crops that is eaten around the world and around the globe. It doesn't really need much introduction, right? Many of us know what a mango is and maybe have tried it before. So mango is high in is a good source of potassium. It's also an excellent source of fiber. So one mango gives you about 5 grams of fiber. And then it's actually an excellent source of vitamin C as well. So many of the things we're highlighting today are excellent sources of vitamin C. And right now, I don't know about you, but lots of people have been with the flu and things like that. And so helping to support our immune system, we want to make sure that we're eating foods, these fruits and vegetables that have these vitamins and minerals, particularly vitamin C, that can help support our immune system. So this has about 203% of its daily value of vitamin C in one of the mangoes. And so again, incorporating this in a salad, you can put it in a smoothie, you can eat it just as is, like a snack. So you want to peel it and then have it when it's nice and ready. I know some who like to have it when it's a little bit more firm, and you might get a little bit slightly more bitter taste, but as it begins to ripen, it'll sweeten up as well. So that is our mango. And then we are going to talk a little bit about our pineapple. You can see I've already taken a nice chunk of this pineapple. I actually thought it was ripe and ready, but when I cut it open, it wasn't quite ready. So, which is fine. Whenever you find that maybe your fruit, like for example, this pineapple, you cut it open and it wasn't quite ripe yet, there are other ways that you can use it. So you could actually cut this up very tiny into small pieces and make a mango salsa, for example, which would be a perfect way to utilize it if it's not completely ripe. And then you could also throw it in a smoothie, or you can juice it as well. And you'll still get some great flavor and all of those great vitamins and minerals. So one of those other ones that doesn't really need an introduction, right? But a staple crop that is eaten from around the globe and from around the world and has many multiple uses. So excellent source of vitamin C. It has some fiber in it. And it also has some anti-inflammatory properties, particularly with some of its natural components, one being something called bromelain. All right, and then we are going to move on and talk a little bit about something that maybe, just maybe, you may not have tried before. And this is called tamarind. So tamarind you find in the grocery stores. It's either sweet or you can find them sour. This one is the sweet version. So it's a tropical fruit that's native to West Africa. And we typically use it to make either a drink or you can use it to flavor food as well. So when I was younger, when I used to go grocery shopping with my grandmother, we would go to a small market that carried different kinds of cultural foods or cultural foods that you'll find, in Jamaica and other parts of the world. And they would have these things called tamarind balls. And basically, it's the tamarind that's in the inside of this. I'll show you. I'll open it up. And it was rolled in sugar. So there are seeds in here as well. So that was something that I had to be mindful of, when I was eating it. But it was a really, really tasty treat. One note that I do want to mention about the tamarind is that this whole container is about 2.5 servings. So you could almost eat a third, if you will, of this container, which is quite a bit of this tamarind. And it contains 70 grams of carbohydrates per serving. And so for someone who might be managing their blood sugars, potentially managing blood sugars even with insulin, you just want to be mindful of how much of this you're having in one sitting and how that might impact your blood sugar. So just being mindful of that, but really great option. It has 7 grams of fiber per serving. So really great, awesome thing to try if you haven't tried it. So I'll open it up and show you what it looks like. So this is what it looks like. And you just crack it open. The shell is kind of hollow. And then when you pull it out, you see that there's kind of this flesh, and then it has some kind of like vines. I'll try to see if I can show you that. And so what we would do is just remove the shell, and you can just bite it off, really, or pull it off. Now there's a seed in each kind of pocket of these. And so you just want to be careful. But it's has a sweet and tangy taste. And again, we will boil this and maybe make a drink with it, or we might add it into other dishes to give it some wonderful flavor. All right, so I am taking a quick look at our time. We're doing great, and also want to make sure that I address any questions that come up. So we talked about tamarind, and then I just want to quickly highlight that when it comes to our grains, we have something called cornmeal. So cornmeal is one of my favorites, and I like to use it to make porridge. You can make savory and sweet dishes. You can buy it coarse or ground, and some recipes across culture use this to make like, as I said, like a savory dish, and then and I like to make it as kind of like a porridge. And then we also have, which this also has some good B vitamins, and then also some fiber as well. And then I have this grain that I've always wanted to try. It's called fonio. And fonio is an ancient West African grain and a staple crop in West Africa. So I encourage you to take a quick look online to see more health benefits of fonio. And if you search Healthline online, you'll get some great information. But you can make this either sweet or savory. The grains are so tiny, so small. You can't really see it that well, but they're so tiny, and you can make it like a porridge, or again, you can pair it with something that's savory. So I've tried it. I like it. It doesn't really have much of a flavor, so you can add things to it to add that flavor. All right, so we are going to now talk about our recipe for today. So I made a traditional dish that we have generally for breakfast in Jamaica, and that is something called aki, and we usually pair it with a salted codfish. So let's talk a little bit about aki and saltfish, and then some of the side dishes. So aki is great because it is low in calories, and it's going to be important for us to consider. It's not just about the calories, but where the calories are coming from. So it's low in fat. Actually has very little fat. And saturated fat is what I'm really considering, because saturated fat is what can impact our LDL, our bad cholesterol. But it does have some unsaturated fats, and unsaturated fats are actually the fats that are helpful for our heart. So if you think about it, right, saturated fats, that's the one we want to decrease. Unsaturated fats, we can have some in our diet to be protective for our heart health. And then it's also low in carbohydrates, and it contains some fiber and some protein as well. Aki is kind of, some people say it resembles scrambled eggs, and kind of, but it's a fruit, and it looks like that. If you see that on the can, on the tree, it comes in a pod, and when it's ripe, the pods open up, and these black seeds are removed, and what's left, the flesh part, which is yellow, and I'll show you that in a moment. That's the part that we actually cook and eat. And then we typically pair it with something called salted cod. So I have this salted cod. So it's basically fish that has been preserved. So it has very, very high salt content. So one of the ways that we actually, and especially we're talking about heart health and just eating for longevity, is removing some of that sodium. I like to keep this in the freezer, and I can just take out a couple pieces whenever I need it. So I will soak this overnight. I'll actually boil it. You can boil it and then soak it overnight to remove some of the water. You might do that a few times that day, maybe once or twice. And then the next day you can boil it a few times to remove some of that sodium from the fish. And then that's what we use to add into the aki. I didn't put any into the aki today. If you wanted to do a vegan version, but if you want to do a pescatarian version, if you will, then you can add the salted codfish. And then we have kalaloo, which is a green leafy vegetable. And kalaloo, it has some natural antioxidants that protect our body, okay? And it's also low in fat and low in carbohydrates. So good for our brain health, good for our heart health, good for our digestive health, especially with that fiber. Now, I know I did mention fiber, and what I find that it's helpful to give a few benchmarks. If you don't remember anything else, fiber, eat lots of fiber. And we find our fiber in our fruits, our vegetables, and our whole grains. And the dietary guidelines recommend about 28 grams of fiber, up to about 30-something grams of fiber per day, depending on who you are. And so that's what we know in terms of the research that's helpful for, protective for our bodies and for heart health. All right, so we are going to now, I'm going to showcase this recipe for you. When it comes to cooking and Caribbean cooking and even cooking across the globe, there are some simple ingredients that we typically have that will add into almost every single dish. That's onions. We have some scallions, what we call green onions. We have bell peppers, some either habanero or Scotch bonnet peppers, and then garlic. These are typically added to most dishes. So today we did a aki and saltfish, and I just want to quickly show you how you can peel the green banana. You want to take it and you slice off the ends, and then actually you just kind of score down the side and make a slit, and then you would actually put it into boiling hot water just like this. When it's done cooking, which is not very long, less than 10 minutes, the skin will be easily able to come off, and you got a nice banana. So let me actually plate up what I have for you. So I already boiled some bananas, green bananas. So I'm actually going to transfer that to my plate here. And then I'm going to add my callaloo that I made. So that's our callaloo. And I added some onions and also some tomato. So I'm going to put that on the plate. And then I'm going to show you the aki. So this is the aki. And I added some thyme and tomatoes and onions and bell peppers. And sometimes we eat this with something called breadfruit, which you can find in grocery stores. And then you can also eat it with fried or boiled bananas, and sometimes the green banana, or boiled or fried dumplings is what I meant. All right, so that's our dish. I know we're out of time. So let me just quickly look into the chat and see if we have any questions. Are those bananas or plantains? I know those two types. Okay, so that was the only question I saw. I highlighted today green bananas, and then I also highlighted our yellow plantain. Can you use, oh, absolutely, you can use fresh cod, totally, yes. It'll probably break up a little bit more. I find that the salted cod will hold a little bit better, but yes, you absolutely can. Any other questions? I hope you guys will try this. Any other questions? Thank you. Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you all for attending. Really appreciate it. And looking forward to some more cooking demonstrations. I hope you took something away today.